Today's Japanese slang term is... No. Really?
Yup.
Majide.
Majimajimajinga.
I guess that's what it is. It's Majimajimajinga. So this is, as you probably guessed, just like a really extreme way of saying Majide, or really. If you're like, boy, I'd like to question whether or not something is true, but I want to do so in a way that takes way too long, well then, boy, do I have a word for you. This phrase exploded in early 2024, as you can see by this Google Trends graph. It has seen increased use since then, even appearing in top, slang charts of the year for early 2025. Tied with that Ken China thing that was basically inescapable on TikTok for a while. Ken China! Ding, 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 ding. Showing you the heights of popularity that this thing rose to. The reason for this relates to the TikToker/comedian Nakanishi Ryota, who goes online by the name of Otamajakushi Nakanishi, which means tadpole Nakanishi. And that may sound strange, but the reason is that he used to be part of a warai kombi, or a comedy duo, that was known as Otamajakushi. But now he's alone, which is called a pingeinin, which apparently is the influence of Portuguese of all languages. Remember, just because it's in katakana doesn't mean it comes from English. Anyway, Nakanishi is a pretty popular TikToker in the comedy space, and while he has a variety of different skits, etc., his sort of key bread and butter, his version of my slang reviews, is that he does these cool day videos, or like showing off your outfit, which are parodies of various social persona in Japan. They all begin with a name expressing what kind of person he's showing the outfit for, as well as, to, emphasize the humor, a list of where the various clothing items they are wearing come from. However, it's obviously not a real clothing video, but rather one where he does a impression, often mocking, unsurprisingly, of that kind of character type. The coordinations, for instance, are all extremely complex, with, at least from what I can tell, the specificity of these identities being part of the humor. And these are not only the videos he makes the most, or the ones that are most popular. If you look on his top videos of all time, yeah, it's all videos of this kind. So basically what happened is that sometime in 2024, Nakanishi used Majimajimajinga in one of his videos. For whatever reason, all the sources I found online talking about this didn't specify which video, but I think I found it, because again, the boom starts in May of 2024, and the first people using Majimajimajinga plus Nakanishi's name on Twitter are talking about it a month earlier in April of 2024. Given that he has a video posted in March of 2024, which uses this term over and over.
Majimajimajinga? Majimajimajinga?
Makes me think that, this is probably the origin. This video is showing off the outfit of a cocky university student talking loudly at an izakaya, and for whatever reason, Nakanishi put Majimajinga throughout this video on multiple occasions. Here's the best of.
Majimajimajinga? 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 Majimajimajinga?
So in all those cases, the person wasn't just like Majide surprised, they were Majimajimajinga surprised. This video was extremely popular, getting over 60,000 likes, and according to various websites online, Japanese people really like this term because they found it either fun to say, or just useful to use when you're extremely surprised. Or perhaps it was all kind of ironic, but they were still using it, so now it's popular again. Importantly though, remember, this video was a parody of a social identity that people are supposed to identify with and, kind of dislike. So the use of Majimajimajinga here has to be something that they can identify with or accept as linked to that personality. Which means, of course, that Nakanishi did not come up with it. Indeed, if you look at the comments for that video, you can see a lot of people saying, oh man, people still use Majimajimajinga? Are you Majimajimajingaing me right now? For instance, in this comment, you can see someone calling it a dead word, which means, again, it had to exist before this to die. And here someone refers to it as Natsui, which is a kind of slang shortening of Natsukashi, so again, something that had to exist before. It's nostalgic. And yeah, look, it's easy to find people using it before this. Here's the use from 2007. Now, if you're wondering, wait, multiple people came up with this? Isn't that strange? In theory, yes, but the seeds of this to happen have been planted since the 1980s, because Maji has apparently been around since the Edo period at least, although it was used differently there, but especially took off in the 1980s as a way of saying, really? And additionally though, there's a Japanese TV show called Majinga Z, which first came out in 1972. So this means that arguably since around 1980, the seeds to combine Maji with Majinga have existed. And I would honestly not be surprised if someone in the 1980s or at least 1990s did this. It's just not on the internet because, obviously. You should not be saying Majimajimajinga to the statement that no one is writing Majimajimajinga on the internet in 1980. So Nakanishi is therefore the flashpoint for this term, literally rising from the grave, not the originator. But again, rise from the grave it has, as the reanimated corpse is shambling all throughout Japanese youth culture, even just appearing randomly in the videos of popular YouTubers, and of course being fueled by the fact that Nakanishi is using this over and over and over again in his videos, probably trying to draw on the success of the last one.
Majimajimajinga?
Majimajinga.
Majimajimajinga? Majimajimajinga,ごめん。Majimajimajinga? Majimajimajinga?
Majimajimajinga.
Majimaji. マジマジマジンガーマジマジマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガーかいなマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガーマジマジマジンガー
As a result, I'm pretty sure that a lot of this Majimajimajinga revival is kind of ironic, but hey, they're using it. And as Kurt Vonnegut says, you have to watch out what you pretend to be, because ultimately that's what you are. But this is not like the first time either that a really old slang term that actually was like a dead term got revived due to popular culture. Another term from like the 1980s that was considered super cringe for a long time is otsukare-samansa, which is a combination of otsukare-sama and Samantha, which is influenced seriously by the popularity of Bewitched in Japan during the Showa era. And so, unsurprisingly, this term was basically dead and associated with, like, old men. It appears in, for instance, this set of phone stickers on the bottom left. But in 2020, for whatever reason, the author of Jujutsu Kaisen had the main character say it, and then it exploded again on the internet, becoming used throughout various TikTok videos, as you can see here.
五条悟です。お疲れ様さ。お疲れ様さ。
お疲れ。お疲れ様さ。お疲れ様さ。みかんちゃん。お疲れ様さ。
So what formerly dead Japanese slang term will be revived in the next few years? I don't know. But I'm sure it will be surprising and out of nowhere, which is great because at least now we have a term we can use when we find out.